The night sky looks calm because we are protected from it. From the ground, space appears quiet, distant, almost peaceful. A black ocean filled with points of light, something beautiful enough to forget that it is not made for us. But beyond the thin atmosphere wrapped around Earth, the solar system is not peaceful. It is a chain of extremes. Worlds are burned by radiation, crushed beneath impossible atmospheres, torn by gravity, frozen in darkness, and surrounded by debris moving faster than bullets. We live inside a system that only looks gentle from far away. The deeper you move through it, the more obvious the truth becomes. The solar system is not a home. It is a survival machine. This quiet is a physical illusion. We look up through a heavy filter of gas and a protective magnetic shield, misinterpreting a violent vacuum as a serene sanctuary. Beyond our sky, space is a chaotic torrent of invisible hazards. The sun floods the system with a relentless stream of high-energy particles, a solar wind traveling at hundreds of kilometers per second, capable of stripping atmospheres bare. Radiation saturates the dark, while the immense gravity fields of massive worlds act as silent engines, stretching, pulling, and steering orbital debris with lethal precision. What we call the void is actually a highly pressurized arena of competing physical forces. In this unforgiving cosmic architecture, stability is the ultimate anomaly. The worlds around us operate as active, thermodynamic battlegrounds locked in perpetual hostility. To step off our sheltered planet is to enter an environment where the laws of nature actively work to dismantle life. We survive only because we occupy a rare, highly protected pocket of stability, a microscopic oasis shielded from a system that operates like a cold, mechanistic engine of destruction. At the heart of this machinery sits the absolute ruler of the system. The sun is not a gentle provider of light, but a colossal, blinding nuclear furnace. Every second, its core fuses over 600 million tons of hydrogen, generating a staggering radiative output of nearly 3.86 times 10 to the 26th watts. Consider that scale. In one single second, this star releases more energy than humanity could utilize in millions of years. This gargantuan mass exerts a relentless gravitational pull, dragging planets, moons, asteroids, and comets along in perpetual captivity. Yet this binding force comes with a violent assault. The sun continuously floods the void with sterilizing radiation and a supersonic solar wind. It is this stellar engine that ultimately dictates the fate of every nearby world, deciding which planets can hold on to their protective atmospheres and oceans, and which will be stripped bare, scorched, and left for dead. Closest to the solar furnace sits Mercury. It is a scarred, rocky planet trapped in a permanent state of dual violence. Here, without any meaningful atmospheric shield to buffer the glare, the sun hangs in the black sky, appearing more than 3 times wider than it does from Earth. The surface receives the full, unshielded force of stellar radiation. During the long day, ground temperatures climb above 400 degrees Celsius, hot enough to liquefy lead. Yet this world cannot retain its heat. Because there is virtually no atmosphere to trap the thermal energy, the moment the sun sets, that warmth escapes directly into the void. Nighttime temperatures plunge to minus 180 degrees Celsius. In a single rotation, Mercury swings from a blistering kiln to an absolute freeze. It is a world defined by this punishing duality, proving that light alone does not create a habitable haven. Instead, this barren rock remains locked in a perpetual cycle of physical torture, caught forever between total incineration and the absolute cold of space. From a distance, Venus mimics Earth, shining with a brilliant white light that suggests a familiar watery twin. But beneath this optical veil lies the most deceptive trap in the solar system. Here, the atmosphere does not protect life. It suffocates it. Venus is a runaway greenhouse. Its dense blanket is 96.5% carbon dioxide, capped by clouds of concentrated sulfuric acid. Though it sits nearly twice as far from the Sun as Mercury, Venus is far hotter, trapping solar heat beneath its heavy sky. On the basaltic plains below, temperatures climb to 465 degrees Celsius. The atmospheric pressure reaches 92 atmospheres, equivalent to the crushing weight of a terrestrial ocean. On March 1, 1982, the titanium lander Venera 13 plunged into this furnace. It fought a brief, doomed battle against the environment, surviving for only 127 minutes. Before its silicon circuitry failed, the probe transmitted the first color panoramas of the orange sky and recorded the howling sound of the wind. Venera 13 confirmed the reality of the trap, a world completely choked by its own sky. Past the orbit of Earth, Mars preserves the silent ruins of a failed sanctuary. Its frozen crimson deserts are scarred by dry river valleys, empty lake beds, and hydrated minerals, clear evidence of a wetter, warmer past. Billions of years ago, this world possessed the ingredients for life, sustaining conditions that allowed liquid water to pool in vast basins and carve massive canyons across the terrain. But the planet could not hold its balance. Lacking a global magnetic field, Mars lay defenseless against the unceasing solar wind, which continuously eroded its upper sky. The MAVEN spacecraft provided the direct measurements of this escape, tracking how high-energy solar particles stripped away the atmosphere, molecule by molecule. As the air thinned, atmospheric pressure collapsed, rendering stable liquid surface water impossible. The remaining oceans evaporated or froze beneath the soil. Today, Mars is defined by planet-wide dust storms, thin, unbreathable air, and a constant barrage of cosmic radiation. What remains is a sterile, freezing desert, entirely hostile to biological survival. It stands as a grim warning written in rust. Pop culture depicts the asteroid belt as a dense, swarming wall of jagged stone. In reality, it is a vast, mostly empty expanse of quiet desolation, where millions of kilometers of vacuum separate individual objects. This region contains the remnants of a planet that never fully formed, frozen in its embryonic state since the birth of the solar system. These drifting bodies vary widely in size and composition. Some are dark, carbon-rich stones bearing water-rich minerals older than Earth's oceans, while others are the heavy nickel-iron cores of shattered protoplanets. Instead of joining to build a single sphere, this material became a permanent reservoir of orbital projectiles. For eons, chaotic collisions here have hurled fragments inward, carving a brutal archive of impacts into the scarred crust of every rocky planet. The airless surfaces of the Moon and Mercury serve as geological records of this continuous bombardment. This cold ring of debris remains an active hazard, holding millions of drifting projectiles that still cross our path. Jupiter rules the outer dark as a massive gravitational engine, a colossus so immense that more than 1,000 Earths could fit inside its gaseous volume. It has no solid surface, only an unending descent into violence. To plunge through its outer clouds is to encounter a crushing trap of rising pressure, lethal radiation, and searing heat, where hydrogen gas is squeezed so intensely that it transforms into a dense ocean of liquid metal. Within this turbulent atmosphere, the Great Red Spot, a colossal anticyclonic storm wider than our entire planet, has raged for centuries, outlasting the rise and fall of human nations. It is a violent vortex with no shoreline to slow it down. Yet Jupiter's true power reaches far into the cold void. Its immense gravity acts as a chaotic cosmic bouncer, permanently sculpting the architecture of the solar system. The giant constantly tugs at passing debris, altering the orbits of comets, asteroids, and nearby moons. It exists as both a protective shield and a lethal threat, sometimes ejecting icy intruders into interstellar space, and other times flinging drifting stones directly toward the warm, fragile worlds of the inner system. In this unforgiving machine, our survival depends on the gravitational whims of this distant titan. From a distance, Saturn is the crown jewel of the solar system, a masterpiece of cosmic symmetry. Yet this elegance is a cold, physical illusion. These magnificent rings consist of billions of fast-moving ice and rock fragments, shearing and colliding at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour. This massive system is incredibly thin, measuring just 10 meters thick in most places, and is entirely temporary, slowly draining into the gas giant's upper atmosphere over cosmic timescales. Beneath the high clouds, there is no standable ground, only a boundless descent into crushing pressure. In the frozen dark nearby, Saturn's moons reveal environments hostile to terrestrial life. The massive moon Titan is wrapped in a dense, toxic orange atmosphere of nitrogen, where cryogenic cold of -180 degrees Celsius feeds rivers, lakes, and seas of liquid methane and ethane. Neighboring Enceladus, a tiny ball of ice, sprays water-rich plumes from active fractures in its southern crust, hinting at a pitch-black ocean sealed beneath miles of solid glaciers. Here, the potential ingredients of life remain locked inside a dark, freezing vault, isolated from the warmth of the inner system. Further into the outer dark, planetary order itself breaks down. Uranus does not spin in the familiar planetary posture. It rolls. Tilted 98 degrees on its axis, this giant orbits the Sun on its side, behaving like an off-kilter, discarded mechanism. Here, orbital orientation itself becomes an extreme condition, warping the very concept of day and night. For 21 Earth years, one pole is bathed in a continuous dim glare, while the opposite hemisphere faces a frozen, absolute darkness that stretches for decades. There is no warmth in this distant light. The Sun is reduced to a cold point in a pitch-black sky, failing to pierce an atmosphere composed of hydrogen, helium, and methane. This methane shroud absorbs red light, giving the planet its deceptive, serene aquamarine hue, a thin mask of beauty hiding an environment of punishing cold. In its interior, temperatures plunge below -200 degrees Celsius. Remote and silent, Uranus proves that distance from the solar furnace does not bring peace. It remains a cold, unfeeling machine, running indefinitely in the dark. At the outermost edge of the major planetary sequence sits Neptune, a deep blue sphere suspended in near total darkness. From a distance, this world looks serene, a quiet marble bathed in a faint, frozen sunlight. Yet this beauty is an optical deception. Despite receiving only a tiny fraction of the solar energy that reaches Earth, Neptune is a world of violent, relentless motion. Here, the atmosphere drives some of the fastest winds ever measured. These freezing gales scream across the planet at speeds exceeding 2,000 kilometers per hour, faster than the speed of sound on Earth. Great dark storms, massive enough to swallow entire continents, materialize out of the blue haze, rage across the planet, and vanish without a trace. This dynamic violence defies basic logic, proving that immense distance from the solar furnace does not guarantee peace. Even where the Sun is reduced to a mere needlepoint of light, the survival machine remains fully active, running on a scale of sheer speed that mocks the delicate calm of our home planet. Past the orbit of Neptune, the solar system fades into a vast, freezing twilight. This is the Kuiper Belt, a sprawling ring of ancient debris where dwarf worlds like Eris Haumea, Makemake, and Pluto drift in near absolute cold. In 2015, the New Horizons spacecraft transformed Pluto from an abstract dot into a complex reality, revealing colossal mountains of rock-hard water ice, vast plains of shifting nitrogen glaciers, a thin atmosphere with organic haze, and geological signs of a warm, buried liquid ocean. These distant frozen spheres remain surprisingly active. Here also drift billions of comets, preserving the primitive material of our system's birth. Gravitational nudges from passing stars occasionally send these icy monoliths screaming inward, turning them into dangerous, unpredictable visitors. Now, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 push past 120 astronomical units, recording the slow, ragged thinning of the solar wind. This is a fading frontier, a transition zone where the final influence of our home star dissolves into the silent, interstellar dark. We return to the blue planet not as a default setting of the cosmos, but as a precarious anomaly. Earth's warmth and liquid oceans do not exist by decree. They are preserved by a fragile balance of 5 distinct shields. Our atmosphere maintains a surface pressure near 1 bar, preventing our water from vaporizing into the void or crushing us beneath a suffocating sky. Across a narrow temperature range, 1.38 billion cubic kilometers of liquid water flows freely. Beneath the crust, a convective engine generates a magnetic field of 30 microtesla, deflecting the unceasing stream of solar ions. Farther out, the Moon exerts a steady gravitational pull, anchoring our axial tilt within a stable 1.5-degree variance to prevent chaotic climate shifts. And at the threshold of the outer system, Jupiter acts as a massive gravitational bouncer, sweeping up or deflecting orbital debris that would otherwise sterilize our world. We survive because these 5 systems operate in constant, silent harmony. If even one of these planetary safeguards falters, the machinery fails, and our home joins the silent ruins of the dark. We do not inhabit a sanctuary. We survive inside a cosmic engine of absolute violence. Earth remains a brilliant, fragile anomaly, a brief moment of mercy in a system that does not know we are here. Every breath we take is a quiet defiance of the void. Our survival has never been guaranteed. Share your thoughts on our fragile oasis below and subscribe for more.